Hey, great evening to everyone. Welcome to the She's More Now Connectional resource, where we actually are transparent about journeys to help you navigate this thing called life. And so we're going to let a few people come on in the room. Happy Tuesday to each and every one of you. I am going to share this on my page, and then I pray that you will share this on yours as well. Trust me, the guest that I have tonight, you don't want to miss it. So grab somebody, bring them in. If you've been struggling, you need somebody to give you that push to help you overcome. You need to grab them. Come on, sit down. I promise you, my guest tonight is going to give us tools to survive. So as I share this, I pray that you will share this as well. I'm super excited because I have a friend that I have watched overcome some amazing things. And to see her here to be able to tell her story is priceless for me. So I am excited about tonight. And so I hope you are too. Hope you've had an amazing day. As you're coming in the room, do say hello. Say hello in the comment section as you're coming in the room. Hey, Aunt Jackie, how are you? And as you're coming in, I'll make sure that she is, if you have any questions while she is speaking, I'll just put them in the comment section. I'll be jotting them down. Hey, Bree, I'll be jotting them down as you're coming, as you're giving them. And trust me, she's very transparent, but most of all, she's powerful in helping you to navigate on how to survive. Because listen, the truth of the matter is, some of us going through some real stuff that we don't even know if we're going to make it. Some of us are really going through some stuff where we're on the brink of trying to figure out how we're going to get through this. But I promise you, by the end of this segment, within the next 45 minutes, my guest is going to give you that push. She's going to give you that push because here at the She's More Now Connectional resource, I realize I can't do everything. So God has connected me to some amazing people who can pour into you and, matter of fact, help all of us. I mean, hey, Janella, help all of us be strengthened. And so like I said, grab somebody that you know is struggling, need to know, overcome, tag them, tell them, come on in the room. Trust me, you will not be disappointed. And so I want to introduce my guest. Listen, she has been my friend and my sister for well over 15 years. I guess I didn't stop counting. And I'm actually kind of, sort of, responsible for her daughter being a little bougie with the purses. So I'm going to bring her to the screen. My sister Ebony, I'm so glad to have you, beautiful. How are you?
I am amazing. Thank you for having me.
Yes, so listen, y'all. She has a beautiful daughter named Rain. And listen, oh, matter of fact, I got to send Rain some more purses. She has a beautiful daughter named Rain, and this aunt likes to send purses and jewelry and stuff. Why just got her? I don't know where she got her. We got to keep that out. And so, listen, if you have not followed her, trust me, at the end of the day, she's going to share. I want you to follow her. I want you to follow what she's doing. I want you to follow, the ministry of her daughter's journey. I just want you to follow her. So at the end of it, by the time she finishes speaking, she's going to give you all the pages that you can follow her and you can keep up with what she's doing. And so tonight's topic is how I overcome. I survived. And so I'm going to leave way. I'm going to turn it over to her because I want her to tell her story. Can nobody tell it like she can tell it? I've watched it and it's encouraged me, but she's going to tell it. So listen, I told you, grab somebody, pull them on in. That's right, Janella, tag them. Tell them, come on in the room. We got somebody that's about to pour into them. And listen, those of you that are watching the replay, make sure you got a pen because you might want to jot down some stuff so that you can kind of study that thing and it deposits into you. And so at this time, I'm going to turn it over to the miracle mama herself, Miss Ebony Ford, at this time.
Well, good evening, everybody. As my sister has gracefully spoken, my name is Ebony Ford, better known as the Miracle Mama. Let me tell you a little bit about me so you know who's speaking to you. I think representation is everything. So, I'm a wife. It'll be 10 years in October. Thanks be unto God. I am a mother of one beautiful little girl who you're going to hear about in a second. I am a sister. I'm a friend. I am a nonprofit owner. I am the founder and CEO of Miracle Miracle Mamas. I am the host of the Miracle Mama podcast. I'm the founder of the largest prematurity related club on Clubhouse called the Miracle Mama Club. I've been so blessed to share my experience, and there's a word you keep hearing about miracle, and it's gonna make a lot of sense in a minute. I don't share this name. I've not coined this name myself, really. But I am blessed to be a recipient of the miracles of God. I do not take for granted the grace, the mercy, the, oh gosh, literally unmerited favor God has given me to be able to do what I do, to have survived and overcome what I've overcome. And I'm so blessed to share it with you. So thank you to my sister Shavana for extending her platform to me. So as I shared with you, I'm a wife. I got married in 2012. And, you know, many of us are taught, women especially, we are groomed. I'll use the word groomed to become wives and mothers. We're given baby dolls at an early age to pretend that they're our babies. We are taught to be maternal. I even find myself doing it with my daughter. She'll start playing with something, she'll hand it to me, and I say, you got to take responsibility for that. You got to hold that. You brought it out. You got to play with it. Keep that in mind, because we're going to come back to that. You brought it out. You got to take responsibility for that. So I'm teaching her at an early age, not so much to be a mother or a wife, but to take responsibility. That is not something that I was taught. I was taught that you go to school, you should get married, you have a child, and, you know, happily ever after. But the truth is, I never saw modeled for me what the expectation was given to me. There were pressures put on me that I didn't see any blueprint for. So I got married to the absolute love of my life. I will say it to the day I die. He is literally the love of my life, the absolute one that God created for me. And I'm sure he's on here. So love you, babe. Thank you so much. He is currently keeping our daughter from ruining this stream. I am in her room, so she will not. And we got married, and, you know, we talked early on about wanting to create a legacy. We both came from broken homes, split family homes. There was divorce. There was lack of marriage. There was pregnancy out of wedlock. There were so many different curses and things that we just wanted to break. We wanted to make sure that we were the first in our family, or that we continued to keep up certain things so that our children would never have to suffer through them. And little did we know that we would literally suffer through things that I don't wish on anyone. Not a worst enemy, not an enemy of the state, no one. But God graced us to go through it. So we got married in 2012. We immediately knew we wanted to start a family. And we were blessed to do that immediately. And we were just so happy, so blessed. My husband and I are both the oldest grandchildren on both sides. So we were bringing in a new generation. And oh gosh, we were so excited, so ready for what this would bring for us. And everything seemed to be doing well. Around 6 months, I started experiencing really high fevers, rashes, joint pains. I was in the emergency room, gosh, every week, sometimes 2 to 3 times a week, because I had these terrible high fevers and rashes. I would get this big red rash on my face, and we just couldn't figure out what was going on with me. After so many tests, after so many visits, after so many questions and tears and specialist visits, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition called SLE. You might know it a bit better as lupus. And I was told that, you know, I would still have a great quality of life. There were just things that I'd have to do. I'd have to protect myself against illness. And it started making some pieces add together. I had been going through health issues for about 10 years prior to that. Just various issues, stomach issues, heart issues. And I could never nail down one thing. You know, they were giving me all these different diagnoses. I went through all these surgeries, all this medicine. And I was just like, this cannot be life. And when I got married, I was just like, I don't want this. So God, you got to give me some clarity. What is this? I need you to heal me. What I didn't know is that he was going to heal me through giving me the diagnosis to help me to get the treatment that I needed. So I was blessed to start the treatment that I needed, and everything was great. I was told that it was a miracle in and of itself. This was the first miracle I think I experienced through my covenant, because typically while you're pregnant, lupus hides itself. It does not come out. It goes into remission. So the fact that my symptoms were coming out so boldly and strongly, according to my doctor, her exact words were, that's about a miracle, because that just does not happen. So we did what we had to do. Again, we continued to prepare for our baby, and the Lord had it to be so that at 32 weeks, I got extremely sick, high fevers. And again, I thought I was attributing that to lupus, but we went to the doctor's office, and the doctor was just packed. They told me to come in, but they really didn't have room to see me. So they ended up sending me to the emergency room, which was about 3 blocks down the street. I got there, sat in the emergency room for hours on hours on hours and hours. Finally got me to the back. Blood pressure was apparently elevating while I was sitting there. Pressure was high. The first thing they did was take me into ultrasound, and it was during that ultrasound that we discovered why I was experiencing such high fevers and all of the other various symptoms that I'm going to spare you from. But we discovered in that moment that our daughter, who we had named Selah, had passed away from a cord accident. Her cord had not only wrapped around her neck, but it had snapped, which was causing internal bleeding, which was causing me to be very sick, and delivery was imminent. So we delivered our daughter at 32 weeks, just a few days shy of this baby shower that we waited for, that we prayed for, that we had imagined all of these months. And although I was still hopeful, I was beyond broken. I could not understand how, God, I did it. I got married. I got married first. I did what you told me to do. I'm walking the path that you told me to walk. Why would you let a tragedy happen like this? Nothing like this had ever happened in our families. So it was just like, okay, why us? Why us? And that was the question for months. Why us? Why us? But we didn't get to question too long because we got pregnant again. And for the sake of time, I'm going to speed a bit. That pregnancy ended at about 14 weeks. And at that point, we just said, okay, something's up. And if you're a woman watching this stream, you may know where I'm about to go. There is this, remember we talked about the baby dolls and the grooming to become a mother. There's this feeling on the inside of you. We call it a maternal instinct, but there's a need to nurture. There's a need to bring forth life. We can see it. We can envision it. We yearn for it. And to feel like your body is betraying you is one of the most horrible feelings I've ever experienced. To feel like you are not capable to do what God put you on this earth to do, that you can't give your spouse, yourself even, the one thing that you so desperately wanted, the one thing you knew you were called to do. We knew we were called to build a legacy. I didn't understand in its totality why at that time we went through what we went through. But over the next few years, it began to unveil itself. During that time, my dear sister Shavana surprised me. She gave me an award that I still hold dear today. It is literally sitting in my bedroom right now. I look at it every other day. She gave me a gift. She honored me one night during a service, and it was a surprise to me. She had my husband bring me as a surprise. Little did she know that that day I was wrestling with life itself. If I really wanted to do this, did I really even want to be here? I loved my husband, but it killed me to hurt him. Because see, that's how the enemy works. He tells you that even when you're doing your best is not good enough. And that it is somehow your fault, and that you are deficient, and that you messed up. So I believed the narrative, and I rehearsed it in my mind over and over and over again. That very same day, I remember sitting on the edge of the bed. We were getting ready, and I really didn't know where I was going. He just said it was a surprise, and I was like, I don't feel like going anywhere. But something just said, don't fight him, just get up and get dressed. And I remember sitting on the edge of the bed, and I thought to myself, I love this man enough to let him go. I love him enough to let him find someone who can give him what he wants, what he deserves. What's due him? A child, a legacy. Apparently, I can't do it. Apparently, I am broken beyond repair. My doctors can't give me any answers. They're telling me that the things we know are happening in my health are not the answer. And I began to rehearse that in my mind over literally the whole way from Washington, D.C. to Baltimore. I rehearsed that in my mind. And then I walk in a service, and my sister hands me an award of being a champion, being a survivor. And at that time, if I'm honest with you, Yeah, I felt like a survivor, but I felt like a literal survivor. Let's talk about that word survive. So, to survive is indicative of living through something. That's it at the core of it. To live, to remain, to exist through a thing. I didn't do any more than get up and breathe. And there were some mornings where I got up and looked at the wall like, now, God, why did you wake me up again? I was literally struggling with my purpose, but something inside of me said, this is for so much more. You are so much more than this. There's so much more than this. Just be patient. Just be patient. Just be patient. So I was patient. I began to pursue other things that I wanted to pursue. God had blessed our marriage, and we were able to do great things. My husband is a gospel recording artist, and he had things that he wanted to do. I went back to school, and everything seemed to be going okay. At 4 weeks, yeah, I discovered that I was pregnant. I was about 4 weeks pregnant when I discovered it. And I knew, just because of our history, because of what we had went through, caught myself looking out for my husband. And I decided I was going to hold this for a little bit just to make sure that this was real. But when I went to that first appointment, I got the shock of my life that there was not one, but there were two. And I made this elaborate plan to share with my husband. Father's Day was coming, and I'm just going to speed through this a little bit. I shared with my husband, we shared with our families, and there was great joy and excitement because it felt like we were getting back everything that we lost. The two babies that we lost, it was coming back to us. We celebrated. We were so excited. Gender reveals. My sister cooked for it. As a matter of fact, her amazing pasta salad. If you've not had Vaughn's pasta salad, you are missing. Like, you're not doing life right if you've not had her pasta salad. So yeah, tap on her after this. But we were so excited, but we were hiding one of the biggest secrets that nobody besides our immediate circle and inner family knew. We found out at the very beginning that our boys had a placental issue. It's called twin-to-twin transfusion. And long story short, there's a placental defect where one child gets more blood and oxygen flow than the other. And because we knew our history, because we knew all the things we had been through, because at this point there were people saying, oh, y'all can't have kids, y'all need to hang it up, oh, y'all need to consider adoption, we decided not to openly and publicly discuss that. Unfortunately, at 22 weeks, we lost our boys. And at that point, we didn't just lose them. We lost the hope of family. We lost our drive. We lost our motivation. I'll be honest and say I lost the will to live at that point. Literally, there were mornings we both woke up and we were just looking at the walls like, what are we doing this for? What is this for? I've survived enough. I've come through enough. Why this? Why? This is like insult to injury. I thought this was the blessing. I thought this was the triumph. I thought this was the rainbow after the storm. Why would you let this happen? And I got angry with God, y'all. Ordained elder and all, okay? Angry. I didn't want to preach. I didn't want to pray. I wasn't praying in my own life. I was so angry I couldn't read my word because I didn't believe that what those words said applied to me. How could you let me go through this much suffering and tell me that I've been created for so much more? I'm made in your image. What I see in the mirror is broken. The image that I see is defective. The image that I see can't live up to what you've called me to do. Over time, that anger began to fade, and I began to be able to pray. It's almost like a betrayal in a relationship. You can forgive in the moment, but it takes time to build that trust up. And that's literally what I went through in my relationship with God. I was waiting every day for the shoe to drop. Literally, I felt every time my phone rang, y'all, I was waiting for something to go wrong, something to be said. And there were other things happening in our life, different transitions that were happening. And I was just like, I'm just waiting for the bottom to fall out at this point. Something is wrong. And my husband and I went through a major transition, and we had moved, and we were just kind of trying to figure out what our next was. Like, what is next for us? What are we doing? I got back in school, and I was just a semester shy of graduating. I remember waking up one Friday and just not quite feeling right. I felt very sluggish. I just didn't feel like myself. I had to preach that Saturday morning, and I did. But I don't remember. I remember sitting down and not remembering anything I said. I felt really foggy. I just didn't feel right. I went to church that Sunday. That Monday, I just wanted to stay home and I wanted to rest. I remember very distinctly talking to my husband in the morning. It was his lunch break. I remember he had to work late. He told me what time he would be home. That was it. I took a nap. And when I woke up, it was 3 days later, and I was in the hospital with tubes down my throat, listening to doctors and nurses tell my husband that I've just had a massive stroke. Face, hands swollen beyond recognition. Family coming from everywhere because nobody knows how this is going to turn out. Literally swollen beyond recognition. I still have pictures that my family took at that time. And I literally had no clue what happened. I had to rely on my husband, or my uncles. My dad was there, my mom was there, who were kind of explaining what happened to me. My husband came home from work and literally found me having very labored breathing, unresponsive. One entire side of my face was swollen, arm was swollen. I lost all of my faculties. And he called 911, and they rushed me there and intubated me, put me on the full life support. And over the next 8 days, I was able to recover, to regain consciousness. And I walked out of the hospital. I walked out of the hospital. Okay. Still much recovery to be done after that. Physical therapy. I had issues with my hands. I had terrible memory issues. And I knew at that point, okay, ain't no way I can have no baby. So let me just look into adoption. Let me just keep living. And that's what we did. We kept living. We started traveling. We did all the things we wanted to do. I turned 30, which was huge. And, we just said, God, we're just going to enjoy each other. And whatever is to be will be. Around June of 2017, I started getting that itch again. And I was like, God, I know what you've called me to do. I know I'm supposed to be somebody's mother. I got all these godchildren. I'm taking care of all these children. I'm keeping them for weeks at a time. There's this itch, this drive, but I'm scared to pray it. I'm scared to be disappointed. And I remember we were in church. This is in October now. I started looking up adoption lawyers. I requested all this information that was being mailed to me. I started looking at what we needed to do to foster, to adopt. I had a few conversations with my husband, but I didn't really push it. I just kind of prepared on my end. Why? You know how we do. We just kind of plot, and then when we're ready, we'll, bring it and fully present it. And that's what I did. And we went to church this particular Sunday, and my bishop preached this sermon about being the pipe that gets the blessing to other people. And he kept saying, even the pipe, although it carries the water to the destination, the water still coats the pipe. The pipe is still the recipient of that moisture. It's still the recipient of that blessing. So in so many words, he was saying to us, although you're the one that's praying the miracles into other people's lives, what you're praying for has to hit you. It has to hit your house. And to give this some context, we had about 4 married couples we were really close with who had all been going through infertility struggles. And at this point, they were on their first, second, and third baby. We were the only ones still waiting, still praying, still doubting, really, would this ever happen for us? I'm not a big altar call person. I don't really go to the altar. I prefer to just, pray where I am. But this particular Sunday, I felt led to do so. And I went to the altar, and, most of the church was at the altar. And I just remember praying this prayer very distinctly. God, I'm tired of praying this miracle into everybody else's life. And I'm not seeing the evidence. What good is it for you to use me to prophesy the gender, the timing of somebody else's baby, but you're not letting it happen for me? Is it just not supposed to happen? And if that's the case, give me peace so I can just forget it. If I'm not meant to adopt or be anybody's mother, just tell me so I can move on. I can move on. And I can just let this dream go, and I can figure something else out. And I went back to my seat. I said it that candidly. I went back to my seat, and my bishop prophesied maybe 10 minutes later to my husband and I that the doctors have missed something in our journey of fertility. There's something they're not seeing, that God had just removed a blockage, and that by his next birthday, which he had just celebrated a birthday, he said by his next birthday, we would have a baby. And I remember squeezing my husband's hand out of sheer fear. Let's talk about opportunistic prophecy very quickly. There were so many people who knew what we had gone through and took that opportunity to prey on that. Who took the opportunity to, oh, God's gonna do it, God's gonna do it, God's gonna do it. I see this in a month, in 6 weeks, in 6 months. And those weeks and those 6 months and all of that went by, and there was nothing. And we prayed and we believed, but there was nothing. So I was afraid. I was very, very afraid. But something in me just said, trust. You got to trust this time. So that's what I did. And 3 weeks later, 2 days before the meeting with the adoption lawyer, we found out we were pregnant. Right before our 5th wedding anniversary, actually. So fear immediately crept in, like, oh God, something is wrong. It's not going to go right. What if this is ectopic? This is too soon. Oh my God, I can't believe it. What is happening? But every time I went into the doctor's, God, he just kept giving us good news. They sent us to a high risk doctor because of the losses and the lupus, and everything just kept turning out perfect. We found out we were having a girl. I think we were like 9 or 10 weeks. We found out we were having a girl. I brought all the pink, all the purple, all the silver, all the pearls, all of the stuff, and I was just excited. And I put things in very strategic places in my house, because when you survive certain traumas, the triggers are everywhere. So although the triggers are numerous, I needed the signs of faith to outnumber the triggers. So I put a onesie here, I put a shoe here, a sock here, I put it all over my house. So everywhere that I was, there was a reminder to me of God's promise to me. And again, my pregnancy went great. 25 weeks, I went into the doctor. I had a little swelling in my ankles. Excuse me. And aside from that, I felt great. We were due to go to the Stellar Awards. My husband, as I explained, is a gospel artist. He has a group that I sing in. And we were due to perform that weekend during the Stellar Awards. And I asked for clearance to go. My doctor was not there that day. She had an emergency C-section. So I saw someone different I had never seen before. He reviewed my chart. He kept telling me how great my blood work and stuff always was. And, that I was doing great. The swelling, it was no big deal. I was at that point in my pregnancy. Fine. I trusted him. This is one of the best high risk pregnancy hospital there is in the Washington, D.C. area. So, of course, I'm going to trust what he says, right? So I said, I want to go on this trip with my husband. Is that okay? Do I need to do anything? I was already taking baby aspirin to prevent preeclampsia. Put a pin in that. And he said, just walk the plane, get some compression socks, you'll be fine. Okay, that's what I did. So a few days later, we pack up. We go to Las Vegas, we fly, we get there. I'm feeling great. Remember, we walked, we got some food, and just relaxed until our group came in. The next day, the group started arriving, and I remember feeling very, very just heavy and swollen. My feet were swollen, my hands were swollen. I couldn't get my wedding rings off. By the end of the next day, I could not fit my shoes. We had to go to Walmart and get me a pair of shoes just so I could stand and sing. I remember my feet being numb. I remember just not being very hungry. I could only take about 5 or 6 steps, and I was like literally hyperventilating. So I sent a message to my doctor, and I just said, hey, this is what's going on. You weren't there the other day, but this is what I said was going on. I'm in Las Vegas. This is what I'm experiencing. What should I do? We stayed about 2 blocks away from a hospital, and something in me said go, but then there was a fight that was like, don't do it, girl. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. So I didn't. I waited to hear back from my doctor, and she said, when you can get back here, come see me, go to the emergency room. So speeding through, we got back to Washington, D.C., and by the time we got back, my vision was gray, spotty. I couldn't make it up the steps to my house without being out of breath. We, dropped off our baggage, tried to sleep. I couldn't sleep. I had to sit straight up, and we just got up, and my husband took me to the emergency room. Well, actually, labor and delivery. They told me to go to labor and delivery. I got to labor and delivery. Labor and delivery sent me to the emergency room, and my blood pressure. I had to get my medical records to believe it, because I remember my doctor told me I did it. My blood pressure was 262 over 154. Let me say that again. 262 over 154. They began to explain to me that I probably had something called preeclampsia, that I'd probably be staying in the hospital for the next 6 weeks, and that, maybe they'll keep me pregnant till 32 weeks. So at 26 weeks pregnant, I wasn't excited to be staying in the hospital for 6 weeks, but I said, okay, this is what has to happen, fine. They continued to do more tests. We were waiting for all the blood tests to come back. And shortly after they told us I'd be in the hospital for 6 weeks, they came back in with some new team members. And I remember seeing this look of just, it was like confusion and fear on the doctor's face. And I remember my husband was on the phone with my sister-in-law, kind of telling her what was going on. And he was like, I got to call you back. And they began to tell us that we had to have our baby immediately. Immediately. So at 26 weeks, they were telling me that I had to have my baby that day. I didn't know what a 26-weeker baby looked like. I knew that I heard that at 24, after 24 weeks, your baby can survive, but they're going to be very sick. And over the next 30 to 45 minutes, they began to tell me all of these terrible odds. My daughter has about an 80% chance of having brain bleeds. There's something called NEC, that's a gastrointestinal infection that preemies tend to get. The high rates of cerebral palsy, deafness, blindness. She wouldn't be born breathing on her own. She wasn't going to come out crying. Her eyes could still be fused shut. I should expect her to be intubated. I should expect lung collapses. Literally expect nothing for the first 48 to 72 hours. They called it the honeymoon period, because we don't know what your baby's going to look like. We don't know your baby's size. We don't know. There's no time to give you steroids. We don't know what her lungs are going to look like. We don't know. Oh, and by the way, you are in kidney failure. You are in liver failure. So when we get you in the emergency and when we get you in the OR, we're going to sedate you. We're going to put you on life support. After the C-section, we'll send you up to the ICU where you'll stay for at least the next 24 hours. Oh, and by the way, your husband won't be in the delivery room with you. Of all the things that they said, all the terrible things they said about my baby that she would be and deal with, the thing that gut punched me was that my husband wasn't going to be there. We suffered through all this loss. He had to be present through all of that. He saw all of this tragedy. And now this one moment we've been waiting for, he's not going to be present for. He took it very well, but I did not. I did not. And literally, it was all I could think about on the way to the OR. If you've ever not been able to breathe, there's a feeling of doom that comes with that. It's a feeling of like, I'm going to die. I can't explain it any better than that. And I apologize if that's triggering for anybody. But it's a feeling of doom, like, oh my God, I can't breathe. Oh my God, what is going on? And I got into the OR to speed through this. And on March 25th, 2018, my daughter Rain Victoria was born, weighing 1 pound, 15 ounces, 10 inches long, a little longer than the size of our hands. We had no clue what was ahead for her. I did not get to see my daughter till well over 24 hours. I was in the emergency room. In the ICU, where I was undergoing dialysis, medicines to get my kidneys and my liver going again. I was still intubated and sedated to allow my body time to recover from what I now know is called HELP syndrome. It's one of the more severe forms of preeclampsia. Your platelets are extremely low. You can bleed out. I was receiving blood products and magnesium to bring my blood pressure down. So while I was fighting for my life, my daughter was also fighting for hers. And in that one single moment of all the things that we survived, the only thing that came to me is that because of this one decision, my husband almost became a widower and a single father in one day. God, how could you let this happen? Haven't we survived enough? But God, in his infinite wisdom, used the situation to show us that it wasn't time. We couldn't just survive anymore. He was about to show us what it meant to reign and to overcome. We named our daughter Rain Victoria because of a scripture in 2 Timothy, one that kept us through our infertility journey, that simply says, and I'm sure you know it, if you suffer with him, you'll reign with him. And that name, there was just no other name. That we knew that was her name. It was as if God himself named her. And I think he did, because he knew the journey ahead. And over the next 80 days, my daughter, we went through the NICU. My sister Shavana was, able to come and see us. We watched her grow from 1 pound, 3 lung collapses, on and off of ventilators, feeding issues, over 10 blood transfusions. We went through so much in the NICU. But in the end, she came out healthier than most of her peers who were born. She came home earlier than scheduled. They tell you to wait, at least your due date. She came home 3 weeks early. No oxygen, no feeding tubes, no trach, none of the things that we were told. But what we didn't know is that there was a longer journey of prematurity ahead for us. My daughter was diagnosed with a rare lung condition that required radiation, biopsies to find it, oxygen therapy. She's now 4, and we're just getting to a more stable place in her health. I could have been bitter about the journey, having lost, and then he gave us. And then he gave us a child who was sick, who would have special needs, who would need speech therapy, occupational therapy. Y'all, we've been through it with our daughter. We've been through it, and she's only 4. The countless admissions, fighting for care, becoming an advocate for her, it was draining. And if I'm honest with you, there are some days where I just don't know. I'm just like, how did we survive this? But then the Lord reminded me, and my sister also reminded me through this theme that we're talking about tonight. Survival simply means that you remained alive through it. But in order to overcome, to be an overcomer, to be in the process of overcoming, it requires an action. Anything with an ing is a process of action. And so the Lord didn't just allow us to survive and stand still and sit in it. He gave us the tools to overcome. He gave us the testimony to overcome. He gave us the drive to overcome. Life is not happening to us, it's happening for us. And that perspective shift changed my entire life. I know we dote on being a survivor. I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor. But y'all, you can survive anything if you stand still. You can survive anything by just continuing to breathe. And we don't even control that. But to overcome, it's indicative of getting up and fighting. Some of you, sure, you may have survived some things, but God has also given you the grace, the will, the power, the strength, and the tools to get up and to overcome it. Some of you are overcoming the curses that are on your family so that your children and their children and their children don't have to face what you did. So, survival, although it's great, let's talk about overcoming. How do we overcome? If you see me looking down, it's just because I wrote a few things. Make your pain pay you. What good is it to go through all of this and not learn the lessons that God designed for you to learn? What good is it to go through all of this and you're too worn out, you're too bitter, you're too angry to be able to share the testimony for someone else to be able to overcome? To be able to overcome is to say, yeah, I'm in a storm. Yes, I don't know what's happening right now, but I'm gonna fight against this storm. Have you ever driven through a storm? You'll be driving through and you'll see some people, they'll like park under the underpass. They're just waiting, trying to survive the storm, just trying to wait it out. But then there's some of us, through impatience or really having somewhere to go, that will drive. We might put our hazards on, we might go a little slower, we might swerve against the line a little bit. But we're going to keep going and we're going to keep fighting and driving through this storm. It's not enough to say, I'm going through. God wants to give you the tools to come through. That's what it means to overcome. And I've been blessed to do that through my story. And I hope that through some of your questions, I don't want to take too much more time here, but I hope that through some of your questions, I'll be able to share with you what that process of overcoming actually looks like, the action that goes into that, the will that goes into that. So I'll turn it back over to my sister.
So listen, I already told y'all, hold your seats because you were not going to hear a fictitious story. You were going to hear some real life experience about how there was a struggle, but not just an overcoming, not just a survival, but an overcoming. And so I jotted down some things. I've gotten some stuff in my inbox and in the comment section. And so I'm just gonna hop on in and ask you. One person said, how did you find the strength to believe your promise when everything looked like it was dead?
Hmm.
How did you
Ooh.
do that?
Okay. This is not a popular answer, but I just got to keep it 100.
That's what we're here for.
I didn't. I didn't. You know that scripture we love to tell people when they're going through, his strength is made perfect in your weakness. No, literally. I had nothing. I had nothing to believe. I had nothing to hold on to. He literally carried me until I was able to remember that I
Yes.
survived 100% of my yesterdays. So if I can survive it, now why can't I get up and overcome it? So I couldn't do it in my own strength. And I think that's where we mess up. We try to do it in our very limited strength and
Mm.
knowledge and intellect. But if you'll take a moment to ask God to let you see you the way that He sees you, because He
Wow.
doesn't see you as a survivor. He knows what He put in you. He knows
Mhm.
the end already. And He knows that you're going to overcome. And just a glimpse of me being a mother, a glimpse of me holding this baby that I knew it was a baby girl. I asked for a glimpse. And once I saw that glimpse, you couldn't tell me otherwise. I had nothing to lose. And most of us have nothing to lose. You don't have any reason to not believe. You have nothing to lose. So why not trust him again?
Listen, it's something amazing about a memory. It's
Mm-hmm.
something amazing about a memory. You could be at your weakest, most vulnerable point in your life, the darkest season of your life, and it will take only one memory,
Yeah.
just one, not even a whole picture, but just one memory that will literally catapult you and shake you. Not even just to go all the way, but just to get up
Yeah.
and try it again or to get up and move again. And so it's amazing that you said memory. I tell people all the time, all you need is a memory.
That's it.
Because if we're real true, we got so many receipts in our pocket
Mm-hmm.
that we could pull out one receipt. I told them that a couple of days ago, I got receipts.
Yeah.
You ain't got to tell me nothing. I ain't got to read nothing else, though I'm a studier and I'm always going to be a lifelong student. But I don't have to read nothing else. I got enough receipts in my
Listen,
memory bank.
we
To
don't
be
have
one of
victory in theory. We got victory in practice.
what? Don't do that to me because you know I get fill up. Don't do that to me. I get fill up.
We don't have victory in theory, yo. We got practice. So many
Practice.
things, even if it's just survival. Let's just use the very basic level of survival. That's enough to let you know
Mm.
that one, there is purpose for you. Two, you're not just wasting space and air. You are here for a greater purpose. So if you could just remember the stuff that you've already come through that you still don't know how you did it, why can't you trust them again? Why can't you
Trust them
trust them
again.
again?
It's just that simple. Trust them. What you have to lose?
Nothing.
There's nothing else to lose if you trust them one more time.
Nothing but your pride.
That's it. And see, that's where many of us fall.
Yeah.
We are so prideful that many of us will not just totally surrender. Like, you know what? I don't have nothing to lose, so we're gonna just go with you.
Yeah.
We're so prideful, and it gets us nowhere. It
No.
gets us nowhere. And so, listen. So the next thing that they said was, "How did you really keep pressing to speak into others what wasn't happening for you?"
I have, since about the age of 16, I have had this gift of intercession that many times I never understood. God would literally let me feel
Mm-hmm.
the infirmity, the weight, the guilt. I could be in worship and look at somebody and literally, I'm trying to worship and I'm saying in my mind, I'm worthless. I'm a failure. I'm like, wait, I don't feel like that. What is going on? And God is, I'm letting you feel it so that
Mm-hmm.
you can bring it to me. I'm giving you the prophetic insight to be able to bring it to me so that you know how to pray. Where we mess up is we think He shows it to us to go speak it. And see, out of our own pride, we'll go tap Him on the shoulder and be like, hey, the Lord said, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's just to give you a prophetic strategy to pray.
That's it.
So, God allowing me to see those different things, it was literally me just being obedient. One, because I was miserable when I wasn't. Less prophetic people,
That
you
part.
know what I'm
That
talking
part.
about.
Yeah, that part.
I couldn't rest until I said it. And I knew deep down, although at times in denial, I knew God was using me to birth what I desire in other people.
Mm.
And He
So
was
wait a minute. I'm
proving
sorry.
to
Can you just
me,
wind it back? Say that one more time.
God was using me to birth in others what He wanted to birth in me. And He used the same mouth that spoke it for them. He reminded me that if it worked for them, Why can't my word through your mouth work for you?
That's good
What good
stuff.
are the gifts if they don't work for you?
Mm-hmm.
So that's literally on the, I mean, literally in my own humanity, it was exhausting to
Mm-hmm.
watch everybody else. It was exhausting to all, you know, how people say always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Yeah, well, I was always the godmother, never the mother. I have 7 godchildren. It was exhausting. And I love my god babies to death. But it was like, okay, God, now, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
These people don't even want the kids that they have. I want this. I'm in
Right.
the position to get this. This is what you said. You said get married. They said go to school. I did all the things. And I'm not
Mm-hmm.
seeing the result until I learn to speak it.
Gotcha. And one last question that they have is, so what would you say if you would give tools? How would you shift perspective? You said something during your sharing your story about how you had to shift your perspective of what was actually going on.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you tell somebody to shift their perspective when it seems like hell is everywhere?
One of the first things I had to do in me, and that I was able to do it in others, was to abandon and to cast down this concept of toxic positivity. You know, we tell people, oh, you're young, it'll happen. You're young, you got time. Oh, God'll do it again. It felt so sickening to me. It was like a righteous indignation when people say it, and I'm like, you don't know that. You don't know that that's going to happen. How do you know that? Are you just saying it to make me feel better? So I had to cast down all of
Mm-hmm.
my pacifiers, all of my
Ah,
crutches, all the things that help me to feel better. And for some of us, it's not the words of others. For some of us, it's substances. Come on, let's be real. For
that's
some of us, it's shopping. Let's keep it a buck. You know, some of us,
yeah,
our crutches are different things. So
yeah,
I
Lord.
first had to literally cast down that stuff and literally cast my care, my anxiety on him. He's not just saying, I want to carry it. He's saying,
Mm-hmm.
cast your cares on me. I literally want to do the caring for
Yes,
you.
yes,
I
yes,
want to take it on so that you can focus, so that you can
yes.
pray, so that you can take the weight off to be able to see what I'm doing. So when I was able to cast all of that stuff down, it was literally just prayer, y'all. And I know it's something that might sound so deep, but prayer is not, you
Huh.
know, speaking in tongues. Literally, it is as candid as we're sitting here talking. Those are as candid as the conversations I had with God. Like, now you know that ain't make no sense, God. Now why? Now what was the point of that? Like, why would you do that? I mean, so many days. Thank God for His grace.
Yes,
Thank God we're not in the Old Testament because I said some stuff. Woo.
listen, me and you both don't listen. If we
Listen,
done said some stuff to God, because I talk to him like, hey, listen, this is what
yeah.
it is.
But I had to cast that down. I had to cast my hope and faith
Okay.
in other things
Mm-hmm.
as well because he revealed to me, you're so busy, ladies, I'm talking to you, you're so busy watching these ovulation sticks and getting these blood draws and trying to see what's going on with your body. You're not going to be able to predict this miracle. You're not going to be able to do it. Okay, go ahead, do all of that. Go spend your money, go pay your copay. But I, the great physician, want to do this for you. So give it up. He literally told me, throw it all away. And I had spent tons of money on the best of ovulation sticks, the best of supplements. He literally one day said, go in the bathroom, throw it away. Throw it away.
And so let me put a pin note to those of you that are listening who your issue is not fertility, it still applies to you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sometimes you're so focused on the tools to get to the miracle that you miss the miracle worker doing the miracle.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say it again. This applies to those of us who your issue is not fertility, but you're believing God for a miracle and you are missing your miracle trying to predict it, trying to do things, go to this conference, get this book, do this, whatever case may be, to like make your miracle happen, that you're missing the moment for the miracle worker to really work.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of you may be saying, well, I don't have no issues with fertility. Guess what? Fertility is not just in the natural. Hello.
Okay.
Fertility, giving birth is not just in the natural. Giving birth may be your mental, giving birth may be emotional, and giving birth is definitely spiritual.
Yeah.
And trust me, you ain't missed all of it.
Yeah.
You ain't missed all of those stops where you're not producing. Infertility just means I can't produce. I'm not producing, which
Mm-hmm.
means I cannot be producing in my business. I cannot be producing in my marriage. I cannot be producing on my job. I cannot be producing in ministry. Some of you are infertile in other areas than just your womb.
Oh
And
my.
so let's be candid. I hear it real clearly.
Yeah.
Now, I hear you real clearly. That's not my story. I got my children. But guess what? You're stuck in your ministry. You
Mm-hmm.
ain't worked what God said, and you done gave up so many that had so many stillbirths because you won't do what God said. So you're infertile too. Some of you are supposed to be opening up their business, and let's guess what? You've been having miscarriages or whatever case it be, and you're kind of stuck trying to figure out, God, should I really do it? So I'm trying to help somebody. It's not just about in your womb. There are
Mm-hmm.
multiple ways, many ways to be infertile.
Oh yes.
So I want you to really take all the meat that she just gave you, and you need to apply it to every area of your life. That means you know your own self esteem, your
Yeah.
own self worth, your interaction with friendships, your ministry, all areas of your life. You need to apply these tools broadly. Because I heard somebody real clear. I keep telling you, we have very transparent and it's very organic platforms, and I hear very clearly. And you can hear somebody just as clear as they say, "I don't have any problem with that." But guess what? You got problems with other things. And the tools that she said helps us in every area. And so I had to make sure I interjected that in there
Mm-hmm.
because some of us have to realize that we have to be able to really see the meat of how to apply things to our storm. We're missing
Mm-hmm.
the meat of what God has because her storm didn't look like mine, so it don't apply to me. Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. No, you may not have died in the hospital, but you sure almost died in your emotions.
Oh my.
Oh, you might not have miscarried a natural baby, but you sure just miscarried in other areas.
Yeah.
You might not have had a sickness in your body, but you sure got a sickness in your mind. Come on here. We
Yeah.
have to realize that storms, just infertility, that word is just not tied. Yes, in the human sense, it's tied to the womb. But we got to tap into and look beyond. She said perspective. We got to put it in perspective that sometimes it's tied to other areas of our lives. And that's why we're walking around defeated
Yeah.
because we will see all her posts and we will see, and I'm gonna let her share her other posts in a minute. But we will see her post and say, "Oh, that ain't about me because I don't have a newborn." You better stop by and see what God is really saying
Yeah.
because God may be really trying to save your life, literally through seeing her story, not the specifics, but the story, not the intricate parts, but the story. It's a story of actually how to not only survive but to overcome. And so, as always, I thank you. Listen, I might have to make a shirt. Don't you worry, you gonna see that. I make sure I put your name on it. But that make your pain pay you. I might have to put that on the shirt. I might have to walk around. Might have to take a picture on that to make that. I'm gonna make sure I tag you
Woo.
and say Ebony Ford said make my pain pay me. So don't you worry. I'm gonna give you your.
But sis, listen to this. This is it, and I'm gonna leave this
I'm
alone.
sure.
Okay, you brought up an excellent point. For me, it was the supplements and the whatever, but at the core of it, you can't manipulate your way into what you want. You can't manipulate God. You can manipulate your boo. You can pity your way into whatever, but you cannot manipulate the perfect will of God. And we do it through this permissive will. Stuff that we love to do and use as an excuse. We love to use our free will as an excuse to try to manipulate. Or those of us who are ministering to everybody else, we love to pull the card. Well, God, I'm ministering to everybody else. Well, why won't you do it? Well, if you won't do it for me, I won't do it if I. Do you know He will use the junkie on the street to replace you?
What
You
you
are
say
very
that?
replaceable, baby.
Very.
You are very replaceable, and that's not to shoot esteem because you're wonderful in all your ways. You are, but you can't manipulate the hand of God. You can't do it. So I encourage you to trust Him. Some of us make idols out of the process. We make idols. I did it. I made an idol out of being able to get these numbers and tracking numbers and seeing what's going on. I made an idol out of the pain of being a victim. Who can be honest? Because it's a little bit easier to be a victim than to take accountability for the part that you have to play. It's a lot easier to be a victim of what do they call it? Insurance companies call it an act of God, when in fact it's really an act of our disobedience a lot of times.
My God.
So you can't manipulate your way into the will of God. I implore you to just surrender to it.
Just surrender
You
to it.
have nothing to lose. You can't act your way, preach your way, sing your way. You can't, there's nothing you can do in your
Listen.
physical strength to move and manipulate the hand of God to do what you want to do. He made you. You don't think He knows how manipulative you are? You don't
What
think He
you
knows
say?
your motive for praying more, for reading your word more? Come to Him because you, one, know you're nothing without Him. Two, know that you can't do this on your own.
Mm.
And three, understand that His ways will always be higher. I would have never thought I would be in a position to mentor now over 100 families through the NICU. I didn't know what the NICU was 2 days before I had my baby. I didn't know nothing about prematurity. And now I have talked on Congress. I've
Mm-hmm.
been in commercials.
Mm-hmm.
I've been blessed to do so many amazing things because I finally stopped making an idol of the process and surrendered to it. Painful, yes. Stressful, yes. I still don't see the clearest way. Sometimes I can't see my hand in front of my face. But one thing I am sure of is that even in the foggiest, haziest of
Yes.
moments, I am finally in the will of God.
Yes. Listen.
Finally in the will of God. I'm exactly where He wants me, completely leaning and trusting on Him for my next everything. I can't make a decision. I don't make an appointment. I don't do a fundraiser. I don't literally, I pray before I have my clubhouse rooms or whatever I'm doing because I
Absolutely.
don't want to do it without Him. It's exhausting. Ain't you
Listen.
tired?
That part.
Remember Color Purple? She said, "Hey, Miss Billy, ain't you tired?
Ain't you tired?
Ain't you tired? You should be tired. You can't manipulate your way. You just can't do it. God loves you. He
Yes.
gave you the gifts, but
Mm-hmm.
your gifts can't pay for the miracle."
That's right. Your gifts can't pay for the miracle. And so, with that being said, she talked about a fundraiser. Let me see if I can share it. One second. I want to see if it'll let me share. Mm, 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 mm.
And say, for the sake of time, you want me to just tell them what it is? Or
Yeah,
while you're searching?
yeah, you can go ahead because it's giving me an error. So if you
Okay.
would tell them about the fundraiser that's going on right now, um, and you guys, I'm going to post it in the comment section as soon as we get off of here. Actually, while we're on here, I'm gonna post in the comment section. But please tell them about the fundraiser that you have going on.
Sure. So, as I shared at the beginning, I'm the founder and CEO of Miracle Mamas LLC. We are a diversity inclusion firm that helps organizations and hospitals find their path within the maternal health crisis. We provide mentoring and sponsoring groups. We do specialty groups. We give support groups to those who've experienced premature births, who have children who are medically complex or fragile, and those who are disabled. And we also empower caretakers of all kinds. The fundraiser that we are currently doing right now is for families who are in the NICU. Imagine having a baby in the NICU fighting for their life, and you still have children at home who need you, who need your support, who still need you to show up every day, and now they need school supplies and uniforms. So Miracle Mamas is showing up to not only mentor them, to not only feed them, but to help them to do this for their kids. So a notebook, a pen, a book bag, uniforms, gift cards. These are all the things that we will be bringing to help those families just to lighten the load a little bit while they are with their child fighting for their life so that their children at home can be well taken care of.
And so listen, you guys. I also, Ryan, if you're still on here, can you just type the Instagram page in the comment section for me? If you're still on here, brother, can you type the Instagram? Listen, I want all of you to go over to Ebony's Instagram. I want you to follow her. Listen, we want to grow this. We want to support this because this is a place that's really, really, really needs help and support. I watched her in the NICU. This is a place that really needs help and support that really doesn't get it all the time.
Yeah.
Something suffers, especially if you got other children, something suffers. And so we want to be a great support. Again, I have the flyer up on my page. As soon as this is over, I'm gonna put it in the comment section. I'm gonna put it in my storyline. I'm gonna put it all over there. That way, you don't have any excuse. You can find it all over the place. We want to sow. We want to actually sow into the vision that is going to help just strengthen somebody during their crisis, strengthen somebody during their process and their journey. And so, listen, I am super. I told y'all she had something major to say today, and that you would actually be empowered, not just through her story, but empowered to finish your own story. And so, Ebony, thank you so much for coming. I'm glad you had the time. See, my people already like, I'm ready. Send it. I'm ready to sew. I'm ready to sew. Told you, they love helping people. I love all of the people that support me. Listen, I am grateful for the work that you're doing. It is absolutely amazing. But most of all, and I'm not going to get emotional, I am just glad that I'm able to see you alive. I am glad not only to be able to see you alive, but to see my niece alive. And she's sassy, y'all. Y'all got to go to the page. Y'all got to see.
Oh my
Y'all
God.
got to go and see the actual manifestation of a miracle.
I might be able to bring the miracle in here real quick.
Go ahead.
You
Go
want me to
ahead.
grab her?
A couple minutes. Go ahead.
Okay.
Bring her on here.
Ryan.
Yep, go ahead and bring her on in, because I want you guys to actually really see that the actual miracle. She's alive and well, and she's just a bundle of joy. She's sassy, throws her hip to the side. She is a little diva, and we love her. Of course, as always, I'm the one that always wants to give her the cute little purses and the jewelry and the everything. And so, listen, I am definitely going to share it. So, and I just want to make sure you guys, no donation is too small. Even if it's only $5, just to so to make it. Look, there she is. Hi, Rain.
Look, say hi.
Hi.
How are you?
She said good.
We're interrupting her playtime right
Oh,
now.
I'm sorry. Just go back and play.
Okay,
I
having a
apologize.
blast.
Look, we interrupted her, but I wanted y'all to see
Yeah.
God's miracle. I wanted y'all to see the manifestation of what she just talked about. That's Rain. That's Princess Rain.
Yeah.
And so, again, Ebony, thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. We're going to sow into your vision. We're going to share it. We're going to like it. And we're going to make sure that we get others to sow as well. And
I
so, you
appreciate
guys,
you.
thank you guys for tuning in to the She's More Now Connectional Resource, where my guest tonight was the miracle mama herself, Ebony Ford. And I hope that you was able to receive something that actually gave you that push you need to not not make an idol out of your process, but surrender to it and allow God to manifest your miracle. They're all put in there. It's so beautiful. She's amazing. You can go back and read the comments. Everybody said, Miss Ebony, thank you for your gift and your transparency. And so we appreciate you. We appreciate your gift. Listen, keep sowing and changing the world just by your presence. Again, I love you. And guess what, you guys? That concludes our edition of the Choose More Now Connectional Resource for August. We'll see you back here next month. All right. Have a great evening, everyone.